Hello.
Happy Father's Day.
Same to you, Harold.
Okay. You have a cold?
It's never disappeared.
Oh, so how was the graduation at Princeton?
Great.
It must have been amazing. Must have been so proud. Amazing. Isn't that amazing?
It's a beautiful place,
Oh yeah.
and the graduation itself was great, with the exception of those idiots who walked out.
Ugh.
And you
Did
know,
you see where Einstein was?
well, they showed me some houses. They also
Oh.
showed me, so I suppose that's one of them.
Yeah.
And but the place is absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous.
Very green. I've seen pictures. It looks like a park. It's very green.
Yeah, but it's older than the United States.
Really? Well, so am I. So am I.
1763.
Really? Wow.
And there is one building that has bullet holes from the Civil War. They never fixed it, so
They just left it.
Yeah.
But they're too cheap to fix it?
Hmm?
They're too cheap to fix it.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Place. The stadium, Harold.
Really?
I don't know how
Where
many
did you
people.
go? What stadium?
In Princeton.
It's unbelievable.
Mario's granddaughter graduated from Princeton.
Mazel tov, Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Very nice.
The city within the.
Oh, the city of Princeton?
But part of it is inside the school, or I don't know. I got a bit samished, but it's gorgeous.
Wow.
Stores, you know,
yeah.
I don't think the students go shop there. It's the people who live in the neighborhood.
What'd you fly into? What's it? You flew into Newark?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, and then Elsa picked me up. It's a long trip. It's a long trip.
Where, when was it, Maria?
2.5 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, Mazel tov.
But I heard Lakewood is going to take it over.
Yeah. The Chabad place is beautiful also, inside.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they made a party for the graduates, and they made a big fuss about my granddaughter because she was the president of the Chabad.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe she could be president of our shul.
I don't think so. There's not enough money for her for
that. I gave a shiur on Shavuos at Yavna about whether a woman can be a rabbi. And in that discussion, Rav Soloveitchik paskin that a woman cannot serve as a shul president.
Cannot.
Cannot.
Chabad is a different religion, you know.
Right. She could be on the board and she could be the vice president. But he said a president is srora, makes decisions on his own, and we went through an analysis of why, and so he mentioned that, Rav Soloveitchik.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're on Kuf Vav Amud Aleph. We ended up with Take Omar. We're like 3 lines from the top. If the Balabayas told his sharecropper to Zorachiti, to plant wheat, the Ozulu Vazarisari, and he went ahead and planted barley. The Ishtadu Fruba de Baga, most of the valley, the crops were destroyed by blight. The Ishtadat Nami Hanechsari delay. And this field that he had planted barley also was blighted. My. The sharecropper is going to say, it doesn't make a difference. Even if I would have planted wheat, it would have been blighted because everything else got blighted. Or maybe the Balabais can say, listen, if you would have followed my instructions and planted what I told you to plant, I would make him be, would have been Makayim a pasuk vatigzor oimer vayarkam lecha v'aldarkecha nagaor. Maybe my zechusim would have been goyim in shemayim that I would have fulfilled my desire that the wheat be planted. And since you changed from what I requested, you're at fault. And the Gemara answers Mistavra that Izar Sachiti have a Makayim bo that the Balabais has a good argument. Another shaila. Nishtadfu kol sadoisov shel machkir. V'ishtadif nami habadai. The sharecropper has his own private fields. And then he was hired to be a sharecropper for this field. So his fields got blighted and this contracted field got blighted. But lo ishtadif the baga, most of the valley which is full of fields didn't get blighted. I'm reading given to lo ishtadif the baga lo menakile. Maybe we don't deduct because it wasn't a Makas Medina. So whatever he loses, he loses. And we don't, he has to fulfill what he claimed, what the contract says he has to provide. It means we don't give him a break of the Makas Medina because it wasn't a Makas Medina. O Dilma Kivan the Ishtativ Kula Arase, or maybe since all of his lands got blighted. Motzi Armele, Haimishum Lesach Didachu da Amishtat because of the site. This sharecropper lost all of his fields. And again, the Balabais can claim it was that guy's bad mazel that led to the loss. Mistaver de Armele, in fact, it's logical that the Balabais can say that. That means if it was my mazel, we would have been left with something. But since it's your mazel, it's a problem. Another shaila. All of the fields of the sharecropper got lost. And all of the other fields in the valley were lost. And then this one was also lost. It must be a Makas Medina because everything got damaged. So we do deduct since all of his personal fields were damaged. The Balabais can say, it's your bad mazel. However, the Gemara answers, in fact, it's your bad mazel. So, name a lay. The Balabais can say, listen, with my mazel, it should have left some stuff. So Mishum da Amerle, Ihavi Chazis, Lishtayur Lechamidi, Avi Mishtar Lechamidi Nafshech. If you were roy that anything would be saved, one of your fields would have been saved. The fact that your personal fields weren't saved, it must be that all the fault lies with you, the sharecropper. Meisvei. Haisa shnas shidafin v'yirakom oshvias. It was a year of drought or blight, or it was Shemitah. Or Shayushanim Kishnei Eliyahu. Eliyahu was goizer that there was no rain. Let's say somebody had taken a sharecropper deal during those years where nothing grew. So those years don't count for the years that he's supposed to provide sharecrop. Now, Ketani, the Brisa compares Shidafon v'Yirokon Dumya to Shonim Kishnei Eliyahu, to the 2 years that Eliyahu withheld rain. My Shani Eliyahu, Dulavitvua Klal, there was no produce at all. Achanami Dulavitvua Klal. So that means we're talking about a blight where there's nothing growing. But if there was some grain, we would count that in the cheshbon of the sharecropping. And the law coming to Makas Medini, I thought we said if there's a Makas Medina, you can deduct everything. The Amar Kra, Bimismar Shnei Tvos Yim Karlach, Shonim Shesh Ben Tvu Ba'olam, which means it's got to be a regular year where everybody's growing produce. Amar Ravash and Rav Kana, Elamiyata Shvi's Talom in a minion. So Shemitah should count There is produce growing in Chutz La'aretz. Amali Shvi's Avkata de Malkahi. This is a Kadosh Baruch Hu sort of mavatal this. He makes a gzeira that you shouldn't count the year of Shemitah in the sharecropper's cheshbon. Amali Mazut to Breda Rav Mori Ravina. Elameato, so Shvi's doesn't count. Shvi's lotalalo minagirua. You know, when you sell an ancestral field, you're allowed to redeem it. And there's a charge per year to buy it back. So if the Shemitah year doesn't count, why do we count the Shemitah year there when we're poided? It says, Noisen Sela Upudyin Lashana. You have to pay a sell and a punyan for every year. So what about the Shemitah year? We do. You know, during Shemitah year, you can't plow the land. But, for example, you can use the land to dry out payros. You can use it to play soccer on. I mean, there's other purposes for a piece of land. So that's why you include that year when you're calculating the redemption. Amar Shmuel. We're talking about when the sharecropper planted seeds, or you're talking about when the seller of a piece of land and it's going to be redeemed. So it grew and grasshoppers ate it. Aval, if he didn't plant it at all, then we said he has to pay up the full amount, even though it was a Makas Medina. The Omerle, Ilu Zarasa, B'Makayim be the Pasuk Lo Yavosha Be'Etzrol B'Mei Rav and Yishbo. If you would have planted, maybe my field would have been exempted from the Makas Medina because my schus would have been goyrim that the Makas Medina wouldn't affect my field. So the Gemara asks Akasha, most of Rav Sheshes. Roya, a shepherd. Shahaya Roya that had sheep that he was tending. He left the flock and went into the city. Meanwhile, a wolf came, ate one of the sheep. Ba'ari v'doras, or a lion. In Oimrim ilu ayasham ayam matzil. We don't listen. A shepherd's not going to be able to fight off a wolf or a lion. We checked the guy out in Yachol lahatzil. If he was the kind of person who could have saved, chayav. But v'imlav potter. However, based on the sheet that we just discussed, Ramai Nemalei, Yavisasim of Makayim be Gamisari Gamisadov Hecha Avdecha. The same thing Balabais could say, if you would have been there, my mazel would have saved it. So the shepherd can answer, Mishum da Omerle, Yavis Chazis Lisrach Nisa, Havis Rach Nisa Grav Chanina ben Dosa. If I would have been Roy, that a nation should happen to me, like what happened to Chanina ben Dosa, then perhaps the Masan Easy Duba Bekarnayu, there, the goats brought bears back in their horns, which was a derech nes, and the roya didn't have to help. So the name of Lenihid Lenisa Rabalov Chazina, but Lenisa Zuta, maybe yes, fine. To such a big nes, you wouldn't have been zoichet, but maybe a small nes. Kasha. So Enakanami, that's a kasha. Tani Chada. Palmi Shonu Shnia. The sharecropper plants seeds one time, two times, and the crops are lost. So shlish is the third year, he doesn't have to waste the money, ein a zoira. There's already chazaka established with two failed crops. He's not required to plant the third time. Tani idich, shlish is zoira. No, even if the two first crops failed, he has to plant the third. And if the third fails, revius ein a zoira. So it seems to be a steer, loikasha. Ha-karebi, ha-karebi Shimon Gamliel. Ha-karebi sha'amar betrays in the avi chazaka. Rebbe, all the chazaka is established only after two episodes. So let's say two children die after a milah, you don't do the milah for the third. But Reb Shimon Gamliel Domer betlos in the avi chazaka. Chazaka is only established after three episodes. Areish Lakish. Lo Yishana, we don't learn that the sharecropper has to seed. That's if he planted and a grasshopper ate it. But if he planted it and didn't grow, the owner of the field can say, you have to continue planting. Even though this year it didn't grow, you have to try again. Va'ad Amos. Now, what is the Zman of the Zriya? What is the best time to put the seeds in the ground? On Rav Papa, when the sharecroppers come back from the field, and the northern star, Kima, is up in the sky, over their heads, which is Chodesh Shvat, Rashi says. That's the best time. Now, Meisvei, there's a pasuk in Bereshis. Od kol yimei haaretz, zera v'katzir v'kor v'chom, v'kayitz v'chor v'yom v'layla v'lo yishbosu. So there's 6 seasons for planting. Rav Shigolel Mishra Rav Meir Omer. V'chenei Rav Shimon ben Asher Omer Kidvar. Chatzi Tishrei Mar Cheshvan v'Chatzi Kislev. The second half of Tishrei, the month of Cheshvan, and half the month of Kislev, that's zera. That's when you should plant. Not like we said before Shvat. Chatzi Kislev, Teves v'Chatzi Shvat, that's Chorev, that's winter. Chatzi Shvat, Oder v'Chatzi Nisan, Kor. It's cold. Chatzi Nisan, Iyar v'Chatzi Sivan, Kotzir, that's the time of harvest. Chatzi Sivan, Tammuz v'Chatzi Av, Kayetz. Chatzi Av, El v'Chatzi Tishrei, Chom, it's considered it's when you have heat wave. And Rabbi Yehuda Moinim Tishrei, he also has 6 seasons, but he starts the Cheshbon not from half of Tishrei, but from the beginning of Tishrei. And V'chein Rabbi Shimon Moinim and Mar Cheshvan, that these 6 seasons starts not from half of Tishrei, but from the Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. Now, Man Mekel B'Kulu, who's the one that lengthens the period of time of Zera? That's Rabbi Shimon. The Kulai Loy Ka'amar. And that's not koichat kima doesn't fit into his shita. Like kasha hadikabi b'nei b'charfi hadikabi b'nei b'afeli. It depends. Some seeds are planted early and some are late based on ripeness of the fruit that you want. Rav Yehuda Oimer, im kibul b'menu b'ma'os. If the sharecropper's deal is not to provide a certain amount of bushels, but money, no matter what, $1,000. So we said, even if there was a plague, he has to pay the $1,000. A person accepted to be a sharecropper to plant tumi, garlic, aguda dinar malka sabi mezuzah on the banks of the river Malka, and instead of paying certain bushels of garlic, he was going to pay cash. Isker nar Malka Saba. The river got plugged up, and it wasn't irrigating. And Asla Kamei de Rav. So the Beis Din came to Rav. Omar, nar Malka Saba lo ovedim isker Makas Medini zil nachile. So the river not flowing is like a COVID epidemic. So deduct, you shouldn't have to pay. Our Mishnah of Yudoimim, that if you have a Makas Medina, but he promised to pay money, you don't deduct it. Less the Chashal Rav Yehuda, nobody paskins like Rav Yehuda. It's a Das Yochid. And nobody holds like that. Mishnah. Hamekabel Sorim Chavero Ba'asara Kurchitim L'shon. He has to provide 10 core of wheat per year. The Laksa and the plague and the wheat got stricken. Now, some are growing. So, Noisin Lo Mitocha. He provides 10 core from the wheat in that field. Even if they're poor quality wheat. Whatever he can grow, he gives. And Imayuchitin Yofois, Lo Yomer Lo, Harin Lo Kech Minashuk, Lo Nois Lo Mitocha. He cannot go buy inferior wheat, give it to the owner, and keep the superior wheat for himself. He has to give the 10 core from the superior wheat if it grows. Hahu gavra de kabel orla aspasta b'koi desari. Aspasa is like alfalfa, which is animal food, which is harvested every 30 days. And then, after that, he would plant barley. So, Avda Aspasa, so he planted the alfalfa, and then Charshav Zara, sorry. And then he harvested it, and then replanted it with barley. The Lakuani Sari, the barley got struck with a blight. The contractor wanted to pay the number of bushels, let's say 10 bushels, with this weak barley, which was, it grew, but it wasn't high quality. They asked the Beis Din, Ki Gav Namai, what's the din in this case? Do we say ki loks and Is it like our Mishnah that says that even if it's not growing well, he has a requirement to pay the bushels off from what's in that field? Oh no. So it's not comparable. The land didn't produce for anybody because the contractor planted produce that didn't grow well. Here, the ground did produce because he planted alfalfa and that came out good. The fact that he added on his own mind to plant the barley, they didn't agree to that. And he can't pay with the soirin. The guy was going to be a sharecropper for an orchard, or I guess it was a vineyard, and the payment was going to be 10 jugs of wine. The wine turned into vinegar. Savarav kind of lememar, that laksa, it's okay. He has to pay it off. He can pay the 10 off even with the vinegar. Like our Mishnah, where it says you pay the wheat even if it's inferior wheat. Amar Rav Ashi Midami is no comparison. What do you mean? Our Mishnah, you planted wheat that didn't grow properly. So the ground didn't do what it was supposed to do. Here the ground made wine. The fact that the wine turned into vinegar, whoever was guarding it, whatever, the owner of the field has no connection to that. If grapes had turned into raisins, and then or in a regular field that the grain had turned bad in their haystacks, then he can pay from what was growing in the field. Mishnah. The owner, the deal with the sharecropper was to plant barley. Lo yizran achitim. You should not plant wheat. It draws more fertility out of the soil. But if the deal was to grow chitim, so if he wants, he's running soirim because it causes less damage to the field. Rav Shimon Gamliel prohibits that. Im kabul izroba tvua, if the sharecropper agreed to plant produce, lo yizrana kidneys, you shouldn't plant legumes. If he accepted to plant lekitnias, he's run it through. And again, Rav Shimon Gamliel oyser. Aruch is in my time, Rav Shimon Gamliel. I mean, the owner of the field's not losing out. Why should Rav Shimon Gamliel aser? Dichsiv she'eris Yisrael lo yasu avlo, lo yidabru chezem, lo metzabefim lo shantarmis means you cannot change what you agreed to do, even if there's no loss to the owner. Meisvei, mikvas purim. You collect money for aniyim for Purim. Lipurim. So the collection, if it was for Purim, has to be spent for Purim. But ve'ein medartikin bedover. Ve'ein ani rishai likach ben ritzul sandala. The ani cannot buy shoes with that money. He has to use that money for his Purim Suda. Elim can use them on She'ir, unless the responsible people in the city made it t'nai that the aniyim can use the money for anything. Rabbi Yaakov, Domer Mishum Rab Meir. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Meiko. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel was lenient that the people who give the money are not makpid, which seems to be a steer to what we learned, that Rabbi Gamliel is not makpid on something that changes. What about, he said that if you change, he quoted a pasuk that it's bad. Okay, we'll deal with that tomorrow.
Okay.
Tonight, Nabi is at 8:30, and tomorrow, the Daf Yomi will be at the regular time at 8:30.
Ernie,
Yes.
don't forget to say you're coming to that minyan. They need minyan. Are you coming?
Yes, I'm coming. Where is it?
At Marty Gerfinkel, please put in that you're in.
Yes, I'm in.
Okay.